Something has changed in the air around you, and even those who once dismissed your silence can sense it. Conversations slow when your name comes up. The tone shifts, the laughter fades, and unease creeps in. People who once spoke over you now choose their words carefully, afraid to reveal too much of themselves. The shift is not loud. It's electric. It hums beneath every room you walk into. The balance of power has reversed without announcement. There is something in the way you carry yourself now, a precision in your presence that unsettles the ones who once underestimated it. The shift is the realization that the person they thought they understood no longer exists, and what stands before them no longer seeks acceptance. It commands respect. Old dynamics no longer function. The familiar tricks, the emotional hooks, the subtle guilt, they all fall flat. What once provoked explanation now receives stillness. The manipulative charm that used to cloud clarity dissolves in your calm. That unnerves them. The same gestures that once pulled you back and now hang useless in the air. They sense the change before they understand it. It's not just that you moved on. It's that you outgrew the framework where they once had influence. Power built on reaction collapses when met with indifference. That's what the shift really is, the death of dependency. No arguments, no revenge. Just evolution that renders their old games obsolete. In private, they feel the silence more than your words ever could. It follows them like an echo that refuses to fade. Where they once felt pride, there's tension. Where they once felt control, there's doubt. They replay the last moments, the last conversations, trying to find where they lost their grip. They study your restraint like it's strategy, because it is. They can't name the feeling exactly. It's part fear, part fascination, but it keeps them restless. The truth is, they feel what you no longer carry. Your energy detached from their orbit, and now they drift without the stability your patience once provided. They feel it in their nervousness, in the way peace feels foreign without your calm anchoring it. The absence of chaos you once absorbed now suffocates them. The shift lives in your composure. It's the way you walk without rush, speak without explaining, look without flinching. People notice when someone's power becomes internal. It's magnetic but unsettling. Your calm rewrites the hierarchy in any room you enter. The loud ones grow quieter. The self-assured start second, guessing their dominance. There's no confrontation, no declaration, just presence that exposes pretense. That's what maturity looks like when it wears armor instead of apology. They sense it immediately. They can't manipulate energy that doesn't need validation. You're no longer someone to persuade, you're someone to reckon with. That's the shift. A transformation so subtle it doesn't scream, yet so strong it alters the entire atmosphere. In their minds, the version of you they remember still exists. They reach for it instinctively using old tactics, expecting familiar responses. But every attempt to provoke falls into silence. No anger, no reaction. Just quiet observation that reveals their intention faster than any argument could. That's when panic sets in. They feel the loss of control in real time, like sand slipping through fingers. What they don't realize is that nothing changed suddenly. The shift was gradual. 1,000 moments where you chose peace over performance, self-respect over approval, distance over drama. What they interpret as new strength is really old pain refined into precision. They feel the shift because they finally see what real growth looks like. Effortless, detached, unstoppable. Even those who had nothing to do with your downfall feel it. Friends, colleagues, strangers, they all react differently around you now. Respect lingers where doubt used to live. Curiosity replaces judgment. People sense conviction before you even speak. That's the quiet power of transformation. It radiates without explanation. They may not know your story, but they feel the difference. There's weight in your stillness, focus in your eyes, intention in your pauses. The world adjusts itself around that kind of energy. It's no longer about dominance, it's about direction. You stopped moving through life to prove. Now you move to create. And those still playing small can't help but feel exposed in the presence of someone who's mastered restraint. The shift doesn't just exist in behavior. It exists in vibration. There's a psychological phenomenon where humans sense confidence before they see it. Your aura communicates boundaries before words do. It's why those who once tested you hesitate now. The energy has changed frequency. You no longer operate on scarcity, so their manipulation loses signal. You broadcast stillness. and it disorients the chaotic. That's how energy works. It adapts to belief. You now believe in your own value so completely that others must adjust or be left behind. That's why they feel the shift. They can't control what no longer depends on them for meaning. The shift becomes undeniable when life starts reflecting your new standard. The opportunities, the people, the results. They align with the energy you now command. What used to drain you now fuels you. What used to intimidate you now amuses you. Growth became your rebellion, and peace your form of revenge. The ones who once wished to see you broken must now watch you thrive with effortlessness. That's the final shift, when your existence becomes the proof that no weapon formed against your peace ever truly worked. They feel it every time they see you unbothered, every time they realize that you didn't just survive. You transcended. There's a strange silence that follows evolution. Those who underestimated you go quiet, not out of respect, but out of confusion. They don't know how to approach someone who no longer speaks the language of chaos. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're unreachable. And that distance isn't cold, it's sacred. They feel it like gravity pulling away from their orbit. They lost access to the version of you that made excuses, that explained, that tolerated. What's left now is someone forged in awareness. That awareness doesn't need to shout. It simply moves, and the world rearranges itself in response. There's a truth that lives beneath all performance, one that can't be hidden behind smiles or dressed up with clever words. It hums through tone, posture, silence, and timing. Energy never lies. The body speaks what the mouth refuses to say. Someone can say they've changed, but the vibration around them reveals if it's peace or pretense. That's what makes awareness dangerous. Once the veil is lifted, nothing spoken matters more than what is felt. People who operate from deceit give themselves away through the smallest movements. Their words say, "I'm calm," yet their eyes flicker with restlessness. Their laughter sounds hollow. Energy always exposes what pride tries to conceal. It moves ahead of every action, marking truth long before the mask slips. Those who have learned to listen don't need confrontation. They only need presence. And presence alone exposes dishonesty better than any argument ever could. There was a time when words messled. Promises wrapped in poetry once felt believable. Charm disguised selfishness as care. But the illusion breaks the moment attention shifts from language to energy. The air around a lie feels different. Thick, heavy, laced with unease. Authenticity feels light, grounded, aligned. Once that distinction is learned, the entire game changes. You start reading people differently. Conversations become symphonies of vibration, not sentences. You begin to trust sensations more than explanations. The gut becomes the compass, and it rarely misses. That's the moment manipulation dies, because it relies on distraction. Energy doesn't distract, it declares. The pretenders sense when someone can read vibration, and it terrifies them. They know they can fake behavior, but not frequency. A shift in energy always arrives before words confirm it. When something is wrong, silence grows heavier. When something is right, time moves smoother. People may deny what's happening, but their energy betrays them. It's how intuition reads the room without needing data. The same way animals sense danger before footsteps, consciousness senses truth before sound. It's why some people exhaust even when smiling, and others heal you just by being near. Their energy either drains or nourishes. That realization changes how you move in the world. You stop chasing connections that feel forced, even if they look perfect on paper. You start protecting your peace like an asset, because you've learned that vibration governs everything. The words might say love, but energy reveals intention. Energy carries memory. Every room holds echoes of emotion. Every person leaves residue of thought. When betrayal occurs, it stains the air until truth cleanses it. That's why the dishonest avoid your gaze. They can't withstand the reflection their energy creates. They know your perception has sharpened beyond surface. You see the tension in their shoulders, the flicker of avoidance when truth hovers near. They may never confess, but their energy already has. The guilt moves through their body like static. Words can be rehearsed, but energy cannot. That's what makes awareness such a quiet form of revenge. You no longer demand confession. You simply read it from the air they carry. And that knowing alone restores balance. Energy tells the story long before history does. It exposes the motives behind the kindness, the ego behind the apology, the pride behind the silence. It's why certain people make your chest tighten the second they enter. Their energy disrupts balance before their actions confirm your instincts. Once you've lived through enough deception, your nervous system becomes fluent in frequency. You no longer wait for evidence. You sense alignment like a pulse. That's how you avoid traps others walk into. Your perception evolved into armor. It doesn't defend through aggression. It protects through recognition. Awareness filters deception before it ever touches your emotions. Energy is the most honest witness life provides. It testifies without speaking. Every interaction leaves an imprint. The liar feels it when standing next to truth. The insecure feel it when surrounded by stability. Energy creates contrast so strong that words become irrelevant. People either align or repel. There's no in between. When confidence is real, it silences the room. When deceit hides beneath a smile, the room vibrates with discomfort. That's the language of vibration. It cannot be polished, bought, or rehearsed. Those who thrive in manipulation hate this truth. They know that once someone trusts energy, performance loses its influence. The show ends because the audience learned to see the strings. That's the moment power shifts forever. The most dangerous form of wisdom is emotional attunement, to sense what others mean rather than what they say. Once that sense is sharpened, false energy becomes intolerable. You walk away faster, detach cleaner, heal quicker. You stop forcing what your soul rejects. No explanation required. Some call it coldness, but it's clarity. You're not judging, you're discerning. The difference is freedom. No one can trap an awakened mind with rehearsed affection anymore. Words fail where energy doesn't match. You learned that the hard way, through repetition, through exhaustion, through seeing patterns unfold the same way every time. Now you don't need closure. You already heard the truth in the silence. The energy of authenticity can't be faked. It carries steadiness, patience, conviction. It's felt in people who don't need to prove. They move with certainty that doesn't demand approval. That energy transforms environments. It disarms insecurity, commands respect, and triggers envy in the dishonest. Those who operate from deceit sense their reflection in that energy and retreat. That's why calm people often intimidate the chaotic. Their energy exposes the noise others depend on. The powerful don't announce their purity of intent. They radiate it. Energy never lies, and when it's clean, it shakes foundations built on manipulation. Even when words are forgotten, energy remains. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. That is where real influence lies, not in expression, but in essence. Energy transfers multiplies echoes. Every choice you make, every thought you feed, contributes to that current. When integrity guides it, it attracts. When deceit drives it, it corrodes. That's why the strongest revenge is to remain aligned. No lie survives proximity to pure energy for long. It decays in its presence. Those who tried to weaponize deceit against you feel it now, the corrosion of their own vibration. You didn't need to expose them. The energy did it for you. They built their confidence on your silence. They assumed that your restraint was weakness, that your patience meant surrender, that your calmness meant defeat. They grew comfortable performing power plays in front of an audience that no longer respected them, blind to the fact that you had already moved past the point of reaction. You weren't sleeping. You were studying. Every word, every lie, every shift in their tone became part of your blueprint. They thought you were still in the same chapter while you were rewriting the entire book. Then you acted. Not loudly, not emotionally, just surgically. One decision, one move, one line of action, and their illusion of control shattered. You didn't just expose them. You flipped their existence, because they realized the game they created was never theirs to win. They never prepared for your detachment. People like them only know how to fight in chaos. They thrive when others defend, argue, or explain. But you didn't do any of that. You stopped giving them reaction, their favorite drug, and replaced it with precision. You spoke only when necessary, moved only when needed, and acted only when it mattered. That rhythm confused them. It threw their instincts into panic. They expected the same old version of you, the one who tolerated, who reasoned, who forgave. But when they saw the new one, the version that didn't need closure, didn't need approval, didn't even need their presence, it dismantled them. You didn't ruin their peace. You made them meet themselves, and that was punishment enough. What destroyed them wasn't your action alone. It was the realization that you had already forgiven them long before you moved. Forgiveness from strength, not softness. You didn't forgive to repair. You forgave to release. That freedom scared them because it meant you no longer belonged to their control loop. You didn't hate them. Hate requires focus. You simply outgrew them. And growth is the one weapon narcissists can't defend against. When you evolve without their permission, you strip them of power they never truly had. They built their entire identity around keeping you reactive, and when you stopped responding, they had to face the void of their own irrelevance. That silence, that absence, it flipped their world more violently than any confrontation could. Psychologically, they never saw it coming because they underestimated your adaptability. Manipulators rely on patterns. They expect the same emotional triggers to keep working, but you broke the pattern. You rewired your mind to process emotion differently. Instead of reacting, you observed. Instead of fighting, you strategized. You became unpredictable. And in psychology, unpredictability dismantles control. They lost power not because you attacked, but because they couldn't calculate your next move. You forced their brain into chaos, the same chaos they once used to dominate others. Every time they tried to anticipate your behavior, you shifted again until their confidence collapsed under its own weight. You didn't fight them. You let their mind destroy itself trying to predict yours. They never realized how dangerous you become when you start acting from peace instead of pain. Before, you moved out of reaction, you wanted to prove, defend, clarify. Now, you move from composure. You think in silence, and silence terrifies the manipulative. Because silence doesn't reveal intention. They can't prepare for what they can't read. Your calm became your camouflage. You made your moves invisible. When you finally acted, it felt to them like the floor vanished beneath their feet. You flipped their existence because you reminded them that control built on fear always collapses when faced with someone who's done healing. Your peace was the earthquake. They called you cold, but that coldness was really discipline. You learned to separate emotion from execution. You no longer acted out of impulse, you acted out of understanding. You saw the pattern, studied it, and timed your decision with surgical precision. You didn't destroy them with rage. You dismantled them with awareness. The same tactics they used on you, you turned inside out. You made their manipulation visible, their power irrelevant, their arrogance unsustainable. And when the dust settled, everyone saw who was truly in control. They built a world on lies, and you ended it with truth so subtle it didn't even require explanation. They tried to spin the story. They told people you overreacted, that you were cruel, that you changed. But the beauty of intelligence is that it doesn't need to argue. You didn't defend your reputation. You let their behavior do it for you. In time, the pattern revealed itself. People began to notice their inconsistency, their dramatics, their contradictions. That's how you flipped their existence. You didn't just expose them. You rewired how others saw them. You turned their performance into evidence. Now, every lie they tell makes people look back at your silence with new respect. You flip perception itself. They lost control of the narrative because you stopped feeding it. They don't sleep well now. The same mind that once schemed against you now turns against itself. They can't stop replaying your final move. They thought you'd always need them to validate your story. But when you walked away without seeking recognition, they lost the anchor that held their false identity together. You took your power back, and it left a vacuum in their world. That emptiness haunts them. Because what they really lost was not control, it was relevance. And that realization breaks people like them. You didn't have to destroy them, you simply made them see that they were never as powerful as they believed. Your growth was the plot twist they never predicted. They wanted to break you emotionally, but in the process, they trained your resilience. They turned you into a strategist, a thinker, a survivor with surgical focus. They gave you the very traits that would later dismantle them. That's the irony of transformation. It always happens quietly, and it always arrives too late for those who caused it. They never saw your evolution happening because they were too busy rehearsing their dominance. By the time they realized, the hierarchy had flipped. They were still performing control while you were already living free. That's the revenge they can never recover from. Your peace, your progress, your absence.